normalize it. Just don't ever accept it as being something that's okay. It's not, no matter what recent history tells you. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Astros 8, Pirates 2, I should say this morning at PNC Park, considering the ridiculous 3-hour and 22-minute delay to start the game for alleged weather when there really wasn't much. They could have played the game. This whole practice in general, this should be an entire episode unto itself of whether it's teams, umpires, Major League Baseball, somebody needs to get control of it. That starting pitching is just so precious that you can't start the game and then risk losing a few innings of the starter. Give me a break. Give me a break. Go out there and play ball whenever you're supposed to play ball. If the skies are clear, play ball. If it starts raining, pull the tarp out. If the pitcher doesn't return, too bad. I'm sorry, but if I buy a ticket, listen, I'm turning this into an episode on this all by itself. If I'm buying a ticket, I've got my family there, I got my kids there. I don't want to be chased out of there by some super long rain delay. And, it's so bad. And I totally get why people get rankled by it. It's not just that you're sitting there through a delay. It's you're sitting there through an absolutely pointless delay. They could have played the entire game in the span of the actual delay. The game time by itself eventually would be 2 hours and 24 minutes. The delay was 3 hours and 22 minutes. Figure it out. That probably has to happen from the top. Now, as for your terrible offensive team, the Pirates struck out 16 times in this game. 16. 1-6. Andrew McCutchen, who does not have many sombreros in his career, struck out all 4 times up. Brian Reynolds, Nick Gonzalez, 3 times each. O'Neill Cruz, Henry Davis, twice each. And I can be fair about this, and I can mention that Framber Valdez pitched, and he's really good. But 11 strikeouts in 7 innings, good. Brian Abreu came on after him for the 8th inning, and believe it or not, he was even better. He had unbelievable stuff, and it showed. He tore through the top 3 of the order. But 16 strikeouts is, it's 16 strikeouts. It should be the grotesque, hideous outlier when it happens. It shouldn't be that when someone on your staff goes to research when was the last time it happened, that they come back with a ho-hum. They struck out 16 times last August against the Rangers. And yes, that too was a 9-inning game, because this is what this team does under Ben Cherington. They currently have 556 strikeouts on the season. That's the 6th most in Major League Baseball. And really, if you twin that up with their 638 OPS from the production standpoint, there's only one team that's worse than them offensively, and that's the one team that's worse than them in every way. That's the Rockies, because they're worse than any team that's ever existed. Here's what Don Kelly had to say about the offense after this one.
Framber, and the stuff that in Abreu coming in behind him, it was his curveball at the beginning of the game had from the side. When you can see as much depth from the side, it was he had it going on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, what's he going to say? What's he going to say? He didn't accumulate these players. For that matter, I don't know how much of a honeymoon is appropriate for a hitting coach or pitching coach. And I really don't know how much is appropriate whenever the roster's been built by Ben Cherington. But I do know this, that if the principal responsibility of the coach and again, I'm referring to those at the specialist level, is to make the players better, or at least make some of the players better. It isn't happening under Matt Haig. Now, I had some good talks with Haig going back to spring training. Now, this is a guy that I covered back when he was a player. He didn't make it to the majors for long, but he did make it. He's a terrific dude with a great energy about him, and I believe he's got what it takes to be a major league coach, whether it's here or somewhere where the GM happens to have a clue about adding bats. But if you're him, you'd still like to have at least 1 or 2 W's in your column, or partial W's. Who on this roster offensively has, I don't even want to say exceeded expectations, just shown a bump upward, just gotten better? And remember the rules when we talk about stuff like this. You can't cite guys like Kutch and Reynolds, who are established players, and I'm definitely not going to throw Isaiah Kiner-Falefa in there, even though he's batting .303 out of the 9 hole on this team, which is another subject entirely. And he's either getting close to having enough plate appearances to qualify for the batting title, which would put him, I believe, in the top 10 somewhere in the National League, or he's already there. But you don't get credit for that either. You need some sort of success story. Maybe it's Henry Davis. Maybe it's Brian Hayes. Not that either of them are that yet at all. Maybe it's pulling Jared Triolo out of something after a year and a half of not hitting. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just know that there aren't any. And that's a real thing, because one of the things that you would hope that would have people motivated in this most unfortunate environment right now, where you know the GM's going to get canned at the end of the year, you know that everybody's job is at risk with the exception of Don Kelly. You'd really like to see some of these other people step up, make themselves indispensable, do that thing that Rick Eckstein, the hitting coach around the turn of the decade, did whenever he got all of the players on his side. And then when Cherington came in, all the players figuratively went to bat for him. Oh, you got to keep Eckstein, got to keep Eckstein, got to keep Eckstein, which Cherington did right up until he recognized that Eckstein was going to have players actually swinging at strikes. When we come back, J1Q. If you're looking for a great dining experience, look no further than North Shore Tavern, located directly across Federal Street from PNC Park, next door to Mike's Beer Bar. North Shore Tavern is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. Enjoy your steak finished on a hot lava stone in front of you, where you ensure each piece is cooked to exactly your liking. Or try their rotating selection of entrees, hot sandwiches, salads, and burgers, all while enjoying the ambiance dedicated to the great players and history of the Pittsburgh Pirates all around you. Come see why everyone's talking about North Shore Tavern and steak on a stone.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragecheck.org. That's gunstoragecheck.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from our good friend Gabe Mazevsky, who says, DK, are you discouraged by comments made this week by Rob Manfred regarding a salary cap, or am I reading too much into the following quote, as reported by the Associated Press? Quote, payroll disparity is such a fact of life among the ownership groups that there's not a lot of need for talking about whether we have it or not. Everybody kind of gets it. We understand that it has become a bigger problem for us. There's not been a lot of conversation about that particular topic. Obviously, over the winter, we're going to have to decide what is going to be out there from our perspective, but no decisions on that topic so far, end quote. Now, This is Manfred, to reiterate here for emphasis, being asked about a salary cap in that terminology. As I have reported to you, and that came with an extra supporting round of reporting about a month ago, nobody is using the term. That includes the individual owners, and yes, that includes the local owner. It has been emphasized by Manfred himself, and it has been emphasized hard. So, if Manfred were to be addressing a group of reporters, as he was at the owners' meetings that you're describing here, Gabe, and someone brings up the salary cap, the first thing that's going to pop into his mind, if you ask me, is, wow, I'm telling 30 of these guys to not even use the term. So I'm not going to use it either. In fact, I'm not even going to acknowledge anything. Now, if you really parse what it was that he said here in this quote, he's saying payroll disparity is so obvious, it's not even anything that we need to be talking about. He says everybody kind of gets it. It's a bigger problem. No decisions on that topic so far. Since you're asking for my interpretation of this, here it is. There are kinder, gentler ways, less inflammatory ways to broach this with the Major League Baseball Players Association. I am of the opinion that there are no ways that it'll work, because the union, fortified by the agents, led by Scott Boras, have long been of the mindset that this is some sort of moral loss if they succumb to the salary cap the way literally all of the other sports have. Therefore, I've also long held the stance that the only solution, unfortunate as it is to break the union. There's just no other way to do this. Could they be reasonable? Sure. Could they ask for evidence when it's going to be put to them that the players will end up with a bigger piece of the broader pie, which they will in a salary cap system? Could it be something that the players would, just entertain, that instead of the Shohei Ohtani's getting $50 million a year, that maybe those players could top out at, something reasonable like, I don't know, 20 or 25 a year. But the rest of the players and the retired players and the other alumni in other forms would end up with greater security over the course of their entire lives. Sure, they could. They won't. That's not who they are. It's just not. It's not the way they've been built. They see this sort of talk as like akin to war. No, I don't mean wins above replacement player. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Pirates. So we'll be back with another one of these next Monday.